morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, so thank you so much. Thank you. So my name is Oluwaseyi Moejo. I come from Nigeria. And before we start, I wanted us to just do something energizing. So how are you feeling today? Awesome. So I think you all have this, right? Can we turn it to the back and just like draw how you feel right now? Is it a smiley face or a sad face? I hope you don't have any sad face or a very interested face. So take out your pen and paper, and in 15 seconds, we are going to just draw how we feel right now. So let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, okay, 15, awesome. Okay, so Team Blue Ocean, can someone show me how they're feeling today? Raise up your paper and show me. How are you feeling today? Awesome, we have smiley faces there. Smiley faces here as well on this table. Awesome. Wow, that's a very great drawing. Awesome. Oh, wow, I love that. Awesome. Amazing. I'm so happy to see that we are all excited and energized today. So today I will be taking you on the topic, catalyzing youth action for green transformation and marine conservation. So 5 years ago, if you had told me I would be standing on a stage here in beautiful Busan, over 7,000 miles away from my home city in Nigeria, to speak before you all today, this would have been my response. So yes, I want to begin by appreciating the Korea Africa Foundation and the Busan Foundation for International Cooperation for this unique opportunity. And I would like to say that after my keynote speech, there will be a quiz to win some exciting prizes like magazines and notepads that I brought all the way from Nigeria. So I'm glad to be here to share deep insights with you all today on how we can leverage the power of youth to forge a unique path forward towards a sustainable future through initiating green transformation and marine conservation. I am especially intrigued by the theme of today's forum, and I believe gatherings like this are so quintessential in the quest for a sustainable future, sowing seeds in our minds and our hearts that will bring forth a bountiful harvest of solutions and actions both in the present and in the future. Now more than ever, the issues plaguing our planet and ocean calls for a green transformation, and I strongly believe this begins in our minds. And to every young person seated here today, I'm here to remind you about the unique power you have within you to catalyze change in our world. Would you let me? Would you let me? Yeah. Awesome. So you see, I love to create meaningful change, and this makes my heart sing. That is stepping up to be more and do more towards changing the narrative of an issue. And I have been doing this since 2017 at the age of 16. I'm from Nigeria, the most populous black nation on earth, blessed with flora and fauna, vibrant and friendly people, tasty cuisines, and cultural magnificence. But sadly, we battle with a myriad of socio-economic challenges ranging from insecurity to hardship, coupled with the increasing disregard for environmental sustainability. Yet, I have chosen to tackle environmental issues because I strongly believe nature is at the core of all we do. Can we all say nature is at the core? Nature, can we all repeat? Nature is at the core of all we do. Nature is at the core of all we do. So I was 16 years old when I began my journey in change making. I remember when I carried out one of my first community projects. It was an awareness talk where I enlightened my schoolmates during our morning assembly about the need to conserve water. I recall the stage fright and exciting passion I felt while I recited the witty poem I had written for that presentation. I remember the several other projects I carried out that year, engaging over 2,000 girls at my high school, inspiring them to take action for the Sustainable Development Goals. A year later, in September 2018, at the age of 17, with a $100 grant, hope in my heart, big dreams in my mind, and uncertainty in my hands, I began U-Recycle Initiative Africa because I was very concerned about the state of the environment in my country and the existential gaps of youth involvement in environmental sustainability. I got tired of worrying about the issue, and I took a step further to do something about tackling plastic pollution. So what started as a small team of teenagers has now become one of the leading youth environmental organizations in Nigeria and Africa. So far, it has been a roller coaster ride, collaborating with several organizations and teams to carry out over 30 environmental projects that have engaged thousands of youth across Africa and the globe over the last 4 years. Over time, I have come to realize that the voices and the actions of young people like you and me remain a critical tool in sparking and catalyzing the desired change we seek for our planet. I have come to understand that we just cannot afford to stay silent in this fight for a sustainable future, because inaction is costly and even little actions count towards sustaining our future and preserving our planet in a livable state for our unborn children. So much is at stake. And whilst I share my story to prove that little actions count and can indeed grow into big impact, the fact is that today is not about me, but it's all about you. I share this story to reassure you that if I could do it starting out 5 years ago at just 16 with my little resources but big dreams, you can as well. Through this journey, I have come to understand this quote by Greta Thunberg to be true. No one is too small to make a difference. When starting, you might feel intimidated by the problem, comparing how huge it is to the impact of your project. However, here is what you should always remember when that happens. Little actions can build up to big impacts. And interestingly, Greta's story is also one worth sharing. Greta Thunberg is a Sweden climate activist known for her actions to influence and challenge world leaders to take necessary actions to address climate change. Her activism began when she persuaded her parents to adopt lifestyle choices that reduce their own carbon footprint. In August 2018, at age 15, she started spending her school days alone outside the Swedish parliament to call for stronger actions on climate change while holding up a sign that read, "School Strike for Climate." Soon, other students began to join in by engaging in similar protests across their communities. Together, they have organized a climate strike movement under the name Fridays for Future, which has now become a global movement described as the largest climate demonstration in human history, comprising of millions of young climate activists raising their voices for climate justice. Through their campaign, they have helped mainstream climate change while massively highlighting the other intersectional issues like the injustice it causes to the most affected people and areas, whilst pressuring world leaders to become more committed to addressing climate change now. In 2019, Greta Thunberg emerged as the youngest Time Person of the Year, and she has been nominated 3 times for the Nobel Peace Prize, commending her strength and commitment to leading the world against the biggest challenge humanity will ever face, climate change. But wait, can we pause to imagine what it would have been like if Greta chose not to act? If she felt that her strike alone at this point was too small or too insignificant to make any difference. The truth is that we young people have so much energy, creativity, and most importantly, the potential to bear change despite our backgrounds, age, or flaws. Interestingly, the best part is that we can start from our little corners, and sincerely, it bursts bubbles of joy within me when I realize that when we do act intentionally and consistently, we have the power to cause ripples of resounding change across homes, cities, countries, and the globe. And although this is very much possible, it might seem daunting at first. I guess one of the questions on your mind might, as you listen to me now, is how? How is it that seemingly little actions count and can lead to big, significant change? You see, I remember when I heard the word catalyst in high school. I remember ruminating on the word, thinking over and over again about how the phenomenon of a catalyst is simply captivating. In science, a catalyst is any substance that increases the rate of a reaction without being consumed in the reaction itself. Also, it is significant to note that catalysts are mostly added to the reaction in small quantities. With the help of a catalyst, molecules that might take years to interact can now do so in seconds. Upon deep reflection, it is so fascinating to see how this concept of a catalyst can be applied to our dialogue today. And now this leads me to the single most important thing I want to share with you today. The issues plaguing our planet need catalysts. The planet needs youth like you and me to step up to become agents of change, who choose to not be consumed by the degree of the problem, but instead be inspired by the possibility of a solution. Just like how a catalyst speeds up reaction, the chemical reaction, you could help speed up the rate at which people around you are becoming more concerned and invested in taking action for the planet. Our planet needs you to lead the green transformation, and without you and the spark that you bring, a lot can be lost. From history books to the realities we experience right now, catalysts, that is, people who have chosen to make a difference, are impacting nations and changing systems through collaboration, consistency, and doggedness. This is Melati Wijesin. So Melati Wijesin, a prominent environmental activist, once said, "Youth may only be 25% of the population, but we are 100% of the future." And I totally agree with this reality. Melati was just 12, and her sister Isabel 10, when they decided to become catalysts for environmental sustainability. They got tired of seeing plastic waste distort their beautiful island called Bali, and it took a step to solve this by beginning their Bye Bye Plastic Bags campaign with the objective to rid Bali of single-use plastic. By educating youth at the grassroots through creative workshops and cleanups, they did this whilst advocating for a plastic ban to address the issue. At one point, they staged the dawn to Dogs' hunger strike in 2016 to garner public attention, which successfully led them to have a meeting with Bali's then governor. Eventually, in 2018, their years of education and protesting efforts led to the official ban of plastic bags in Bali. Their story has reached stages around the world like TED, CNN, and the United Nations, including being named two of the 25 most influential teens of 2018 by Time magazine. Today, Bye Bye Plastic Bag can be found in 60 locations around the world, with teams led by young people who want to bring the message of saying no to plastic bags globally. Melati and Isabel Wijesin remain a force in this movement and an inspiration to many. But wait, can we pause? Can we pause to imagine what Bali would have been like if Melati and Isabel chose to not take action? Can we pause to imagine what the case would have been like if they gave up because of the difficulties they encountered, being young, being so young? Or what would be of the existence of many initiatives they have inspired across the world? For instance, Melati's work has really inspired the work I do in Nigeria. It is important to highlight that the stories of various successful young environmentalists, climate activists, and innovators all started at first with a little action, which gradually builds over time to big impacts. Another vital point to note is that their drive or motivation arose from a deep understanding of how we humans are intrinsically connected to nature, and how the triple planetary crises of pollution, climate change, and biodiversity loss are devastating planet and people, causing irreversible damage. We are connected to nature. We are nature. Starting from something so vital as the air we breathe, through our nostrils, filling up our lungs as it rises and falls, a process that occurs 22,000 times a day. This very oxygen that sustains us originates from the trees fixated on the earth and corals located deep down the ocean floor. But what happens when these trees are no longer existent, but instead are now replaced by buildings, and the glowing corals all become bleached and dead due to climate change? There is an Asian African word called Ubuntu, which is sometimes translated to mean I am because of we are. Team Ubuntu, say hi. Awesome, yeah. A writer once said that it all points to the fact that an authentic individual human is part of a larger and more significant relational, communal, societal, environmental, and spiritual world. In this context, we can conclude that we humans can survive on Earth only because of the ecosystems that surround us in the air, water, and land. This Ubuntu philosophy reminds us about the power of our actions and choices and the kind of impact they may have on others and the planet. Over the years, industrialization and capitalization has made humans forget how connected we are to nature. Too many of us have grown up and have forgotten the concept of Ubuntu. We have grown with mindsets that do not prioritize the needs and preservation of our environment or of each other. We have grown up with ideologies that undermine our ocean, and we have become acclimated to a society where world leaders negotiate for profit over the planet. However, it is time we make a U-turn and rethink our actions and our choices, starting from the moment we open our eyes each morning till the time we lay our heads down to sleep at night. It's about time we demand restoration and create solutions to protect our future. Humanity is now experiencing a triple planetary crisis: climate change, pollution, and biodiversity loss. Each of these issues has its causes and extensive effects on the world we live in. Again, each issue needs to be resolved if we are to have a livable future on this planet. In early July 2021, a video of the ocean surface on fire in the Gulf of Mexico went viral. An underwater pipeline was leaking gas that caught flames. In that same summer, record heat waves and wildfires killed hundreds of people and burnt tens of thousands of terrestrial and aquatic animals across the world. More so, coastal cities in South Korea and Nigeria are also at risk of being submerged in water due to rising sea levels caused by climate change, whilst battling a plastic pollution crisis. With each passing day, we are reminded to live, produce, and consume more sustainably. We are reminded about the need to push for more policies that will uphold marine conservation and the necessity to switch from the use of fossil fuel to renewable energy. We are reminded about the need to protect nature and the fact that we all need to do something about these issues, regardless of who we are or where we live. It's about time we lead out the ethos of green transformation and generation restoration to revive our dying planet. Do you ever pause to wonder what the world will be like 10 to 20 years from today? or wonder what the state of the ocean will be like here in South Korea and across the globe decades from now. Without significant action, there will be more plastic than fish in the ocean by 2050. This seemed like a random fact on the internet to me until the day I listened to a coastal community dweller in southwestern Nigeria recount his realities of how his once thriving coastal community is now being ravaged terribly by plastic pollution, affecting their primary source of income and livelihood, which is fishing, with no concrete solution or end in sight. His orders mirrored most of what I had previously researched in another coastal community. On one end of the world, the above might just be figures and numbers, but on the other end, it is a saddening reality every day for a lot of coastal communities and marine ecosystems undergoing environmental injustice. Havens of life and bountiful biodiversity, now polluted with filth, merged with the increasing issues of sea level rise caused by climate change. For instance, right here in South Korea, marine biodiversity and water bodies are also at the receiving end of plastic pollution. According to the World Atlas, nearly 13 million tons of plastic wind up in the ocean every year. And on the list of 20 major polluters across the globe, South Korea ranks 3rd and Nigeria ranks 9th. In addition, scientists and experts have highlighted that life on the seafloor surrounding South Korea is gradually being destroyed through desertification, a process linked to climate change and pollution. From water pollution to microplastics in our food chain, it is deeply saddening to witness the crisis happening now and how this issue is endangering marine ecosystems, killing biodiversity, and threatening our lives and health. This is a narrative that needs to change. Having said that, what is the way forward in the face of a problem so vast and complex? How can we lead a green transformation from our corners? So here are three ways you can be part of the solution. Firstly, it all starts by making a choice to take action and then be very intentional about it. As my friend Sharona puts it, you can start by asking yourself, what small changes can I make in my life daily to be part of the solution? Sharona Schneider is a 21-year-old Nigerian-Israeli environmental activist currently based in the Middle East. She is the founder of the global environmental movement Tuesdays for Trash, which started in May of 2020 and has already reached 6 continents with participants in 31 countries. This movement has collected over 25,000 pounds of trash in just 2 years. While picking up litter may not directly cool the planet, Sharona envisions that through cleanups, participants can become inspired to get more involved in environmental sustainability and activism. Whether it's by pressuring corporations to move towards more sustainable practices or demand laws that can mitigate and reverse climate change. It's so easy to focus on the doom and gloom of climate change, but instead of dwelling on that sadness and fear, Sharona sees picking up trash as a gateway to activism and a channel to motivate more people to protect Earth. Personally, I believe cleanups can be an awakening experience. Although issues like littering may appear very trivial, they significantly contribute to marine pollution. According to the European Environmental Agency, millions of tons of litter end up in the world's seas and oceans every year. Hence, in a bid to address this issue, I and my team at Tree Recycle Initiative leverage gamification, incentivization, and technology to develop a novel experiential project called the Literaton Challenge. This project was done to help young Africans understand the severity of littering and marine plastic pollution in Africa, as well as pique their interest and mobilize them to be meaningfully engaged in the global environmental movement. Whilst this project may seem focused on cleaning up trash, its purpose and significance transcends just that, as it has inspired more Africans to lead interventions against plastic pollution. For instance, we have Kudirat from Kano State in Nigeria, who was part of our 2021 Literature Challenge, and as a result, she was inspired to launch a school awareness project which enlightened over 1,000 students in Kano State, and also involved setting up a school climate club. In her words, it was during the course of her participation that her interest grew, and she asked herself, what can she do to stop plastic pollution? Secondly, it is so important that we learn more about these environmental issues. Through this, we can discover our big why, and this can help us stay grounded. You can learn by listening to informative podcasts, reading more about these environmental issues on the internet, following environmentalists and climate activists on social media, watching documentaries and informative videos on YouTube, attending webinars, and so on. Also, you can discover how you can leverage your talent and skills, perhaps in music, arts, speaking, content creation, the list goes on, to help promote awareness. A common saying goes, protect what you know and love. But how can we protect what we do not know, most so love? Because the reality is that in the end, we will conserve only what we love love only what we understand, and we will understand only what we are taught. This was a quote by Dioum, a forestry engineer in 1968. But we're gradually coming to the end. In my journey, I have come to discover that education leads to solutions. And as Recycle Initiative Africa, my organization, environmental education is one of our top priorities because we believe the more people are informed about plastic pollution, the more they understand and get engaged with mitigating this issue that they thought never affected them. In 2021, with the support of National Geographic Society, Recycle embarked on an audacious environmental project called the African Youth for Environment Fellowship, where we coached 6 young fellows to promote environmental education and sustainability across schools in 7 states in Nigeria, engaging over 5,600 teens in 24 environmental and youth development projects. The fellowship was focused on influencing behavioral change to tackle plastic pollution in Nigeria and empowering young Nigerians with skills and knowledge to pioneer solutions in addressing environmental issues. Through boot camps, school talks, movie screenings, and more. Through this fellowship, we also launched our novel upcycling monument project. At the left end, you'd see something like that. Right, sorry. Where we collaborated with artisans and students to convert over 4,000 discarded ocean-bound plastic waste bottles into functional monuments like outdoor seats and artworks across 6 schools in Nigeria. In the coming months this year, we plan to launch another novel transformative campaign called the Plastic Wise Campaign across universities in Nigeria. This would include coaching young female innovators to implement creative interventions that can influence behavioral change towards reducing plastic pollution in their universities. For this, we recently won a grant of over £50,000 to help finance this project. Thirdly, in tackling these environmental issues, we can also explore the significant power of collaboration through meaningful cooperation between Korean and African youth. And this is the reason why we're gathered today. We can leverage knowledge transfer, capacity building, cross-functional partnerships, green investment, resource sharing, and provide sustainable frameworks for capacity development towards solving this existential triple planetary crisis. Furthermore, every part of society has a role to play. The government needs to be more committed to implementing sustainable policies and systems that prioritizes the environment and channels resources where needed. Businesses and industries should be more accountable in ensuring their operations are committed to sustainable practices. And we, the youth at the grassroots, can play an active role in promoting awareness and behavioral change that society requires to effect this green transformation. On a final note, we need to understand that the overwhelming challenges and crises facing our survival and our planet requires us to think differently, rethinking and reimagining everything with a sense of urgency. We need to understand that it is difficult for non-eco-friendly lifestyles, exploitative economic models, and inefficient policies to birth the desired change we need. Also, we need to be intentional about what we can do in our little spaces to catalyze change. We need to do more. Our generation is on the verge where everyone has the potential to spark positive change, no matter who we are or how little it may seem. We need to transform the way we produce and consume, from what we eat to what we wear to how we live. Imagine what our world would be like one generation from now if we all commit to taking action in our spaces. Imagine the ripple of change it would cause. We need to pause and ask ourselves, what is one thing I can and must do to preserve Earth? And how can our actions become so intergenerational, shaping our future and the Earth our children will get to experience? And now I have a final question for you, and I would love to hear your answers. So, if 6 children sat on the fence playing, and 2 of them decided to jump, how many are left on the fence? Who would like to answer? So, who would like to answer this question quickly? All right. Okay. So, while it might seem like there are 4 children might be on the fence, actually, it was they only decided about it in their minds, right? They didn't actually jump, right? So there are still going to be 6 children sitting on the fence. I encourage you, and this is such a powerful analogy to describe what we need today. We need us to move from making decisions in our minds to actually taking more tangible actions right now and moving forward to the present and the future. I want to encourage you to take a step further to take action. You can commit to invest meaningful youth action towards achieving green transformation and marine conservation in Korea, Africa, and the world. I am rooting for you. So when I say we are the youth, please respond, we've got the power. We are the youth.
We've got the power.
We are the youth.
We've got the power.
So I love to make my presentation very practical. If you are interested in starting an environmental community project, I have a free guide on how you can get started. So just all you have to do is to scan this, and it's available on owake.org. You can also connect with me on Instagram, Twitter, and the rest. But this guide is super helpful. I've gotten a lot of recommendations from it. So I would like to encourage us to please take action now and not tomorrow. Have a splendid forum. Finally, I have a quiz. I don't know if I have time for that.
Actually, maybe during the panel discussion,
Awesome.
then we can do the quiz.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. Please, let's clap for Ms. Oluchi. Thank you so much. Thank you once again. Thank you. I mean, no words are enough to actually vocalize the seriousness of climate change and climate action. So thank you once again. And what my takeaway from this keynote speech, it's not just inspirational, but it's also a call to action. So at this point, in a few minutes, I would like to introduce our panelists for today, because we will have a panel discussion. And so first thing, we'll have our Miss Oluwaseyi Moejo, who will be one of our panel, who just gave us the keynote speech. So please, you may come forward and have a seat. Then we're going to have also Miss Song Dioum from Dong Duke Women's University, who is also the representative of the winning team of Future Solution of the 4th Korea-Africa Youth Ideathon in the category of Exploring Korea-Africa Joint Agenda to Respond to Climate Change. Welcome. And next we're going to have Yoonju Cho from Konkuk University, who is the PM for Biodiversity of GIC, a youth organization for climate change. And last but not least, myself, Mr. Hassan Karam Ajia Musa, who is also one of the directors of GGS. GGS stands for Global Green Steward. And we are an environmental group based right here in Busan. Thank you. So because of time, we'll go really quick. I'm going to explain how this panel discussion is going to take forth. So first things first, I'll give a chance to all our panelists to say something. You can briefly say who you are and what organization you represent and what you do, and also give 1 or 2 comments about the keynote speech for today. Then after this part, I would like to also give the floor to our participants. If you have any question about the keynote speech or about environmental activities, awareness, or protection, or anything related to environmental protection that you'd like to ask, feel free to ask us. So we'll have first the panelists, and then one of our colleagues here will give you the mic. So whenever you want to speak, just raise your hand, and then we'll bring the mic to you, okay? So first things first, I'll allow our panelist, Miss Song, to actually start.
네, 안녕하세요. 저는 작년에 하나아프리카 청년정책 아이디어 해커톤에서 미래솔루션 팀으로 활동하고 그때 수상을 했던 송다영입니다. 저희가 작년에 냈던 청년정책 아이디어는 하나아프리카 그린 유스 그린 클럽인데요. 말 그대로 클럽이 들어가 있듯이 학교 내에 환경 동아리를 의미합니다. 아무래도 환경 동아리 하면 잘 와닿지 않을 수도 있는데 저희는 아프리카 친구들과 한국 학생들이 같이 연합하여 활동하는 환경 동아리고 기존의 환경 동아리처럼 문제를 발굴하고 이에 대한 캠페인을 진행하는 것을 넘어서 이에 대한 실질적인 방안이 될 수 있는 비즈니스 제안서나 소셜벤처 아이디어 또는 협력사를 모집하는 것으로 저희 활동을 정리할 수 있을 것 같습니다.
Thank you so much. And then next, Ms. Cho. And also, please feel free to also comment on the keynote speech and also what you do.
네, 안녕하세요. 제 이름은 조윤주라고 하고요. 저는 현재 기후변화 청년단체라는 이제 환경과 기후변화 문제에 관심을 가진 청년들이 모여서 만든 비영리 임의 단체에서 생물 다양성 팀 팀장을 맡고 있습니다. 저는 우선 저희 생물 다양성 팀에서 어떤 활동을 하는지 좀 소개를 해드릴게요. 일단 저희 팀은 1년 동안 크게 산림과 해양이라는 주제로 나누어서 활동을 진행하고 있습니다. 그래서 올해 5월 초에 서울 코엑스에서 제15차 세계산림총회가 열렸어요. 그래서 거기에 이제 참관을 해서 지속가능한 산림 자원의 이용과 그리고 산불 방지에 대한 어떤 인사이트를 얻고 왔고요. 또 다들 아시겠지만 올해 3월에 그 경상북도 울진이랑 이제 강원도 삼척에 산불이 아주 크게 났잖아요. 그게 축구장 하나 면적의 한 3만 배 정도의 크기가 불에 탔다고 합니다. 그래서 저희가 직접 그 지역에 현장 답사를 다녀와서 그 인근 생태계랑 인근 마을에 얼마나 피해가 갔는지를 직접 두 눈으로 보고 왔고요. 그리고 비교적 최근에는 인천광역시에 남동 유수지라는 곳이 있어요. 네, 영어로 하면 남동 레서보어이라는 곳이 있는데 이제 그곳에 저어새, 그러니까 블랙페이스 스푼빌이라는 새를 탐조 활동을 하러 갔었습니다. 이 저어새가 세계적인 이제 멸종 위기 동물이고요. 우리나라에서는 천연 기념물이기도 합니다. 그래서 사실 인천광역시라는 대도시에서 멸종 위기 동물이 살고 있다고 하면 다들 되게 놀라는 것 같아요. 그런데 사실 이제 저어새는 물새이기 때문에 이제 말 그대로 물에 사는 거죠. 육지와 해양이 맞닿는 습지 또는 갯벌 지역에 주로 서식을 합니다. 그래서 이제 사실 생물 다양성이라는 것이 굉장히 중요하다고 아까 말씀을 해주셨는데 그 습지랑 갯벌이 사실 생물 다양성이 엄청나게 풍부한 곳이에요. 그리고 그만큼 탄소 흡수량도 많은 곳인데 사실 많은 사람들이 이 습지와 갯벌의 생태적 가치에 대해 잘 모르기도 하고 그리고 별로 관심이 없기도 합니다. 그래서 그런 문제에 대한 좀 어떠한 아젠다가 형성되면 좋을 것 같고 그리고 또 한 가지 말씀드리고 싶은 것은 이 기후변화로 인해서 날씨가 조금만 건조해져도 이제 산불이 아주 빈번하게 발생하고 그뿐만이 아니라 이제 또 중요한 것이 야생동물들이 더운 날씨를 피해서 조금 더 시원한 지역으로 이동하기 시작해요. 이제 그들도 생물이니까. 근데 이제 그러다 보니까 발생하는 문제점이 뭐냐면 각각 다른 서식지에서 살고 있던 동물들이 한 지역에 모이기 시작합니다. 그러면요, 서로에게 질병을 막 옮기기 시작하는 거예요. 각각 다른 곳에서 왔으니까. 이제 그러면은 이제 동물들이 한두 마리씩 죽어나가기 시작하면서 멸종위기 동물이 탄생하기 시작합니다. 그러면 생태계는 다양성을 잃어가고요. 다양성을 잃어버린 생태계는 굉장히 단조로워지겠죠. 그리고 생태계가 단조로워지면 질병에 쉽게 노출되게 됩니다. 이제 그래서 사실 코로나 바이러스도 아마 갑자기 어느 순간 뿅 하고 나타난 바이러스는 아닐 거예요. 다 이러한 일련의 과정을 거쳐서 인간 생태계까지 도달했을 가능성이 매우 높습니다. 그런데 이제 많은 과학자들이 이 코로나 바이러스는 그냥 시작에 불과하고 앞으로 제2의 또는 제3의 코로나 바이러스가 언제든지 나타날 수 있다고 해요. 그럼 그럴 때마다 우리는 계속 경제 침체니 뭐 국제 교류 중단이니 이런 문제점들을 계속 그냥 보고만 있어야 할까요? 인간이 진정 현명한 존재라면 애초에 그런 문제들을 해결하려고 예방하려고 하지 않을까요? 그래서 제가 여러분들께 강조드리고 싶은 것이 바로 자연의 복원력, resilience입니다. 이것을 이루기 위해서는 뭐 법정 산림보호구역이나 해양보호구역을 늘리는 방안도 있고요. 또 불법 채취나 불법 어업 같은 것들을 금지시켜야 하기도 하겠죠. 그러니까 한마디로 쉽게 말하면 자연에게 숨쉴 틈을 주자는 거예요. 그들에게 숨쉴 구멍을 만들어 주어야 비로소 인간과 자연이 상생할 수 있을 것입니다. 네, 여기까지 하겠습니다.
네, 감사합니다. So then when it comes for myself, as I said, I'm one of the directors of Global Green Steward. So we are based here in Busan, and we're basically a team of foreigners living in Busan, and who are passionate about the environment. So you know, as foreigners living in a foreign country, specifically in Korea, we tend to always be on the receiving end. You know, like thanks to BFIC and other organizations, so many people do things to us, and we are really grateful for that. But then we thought, what can we do for Korea? Or what can we do to help life in Korea, specifically in Busan? So that's how we started, by just doing simple activities. I like in the talk you talk about no small action is small. Every action counts. So simple things like doing beach cleanups in Busan, like collecting trash, and we did a lot of educational training. I like the way you mentioned how education is very important. So we went to middle schools, high schools, and did so many seminars. And then some of the simple action, I remember some questions our students ask us is, so I'm only a middle school student, what can I do? Because when we think about climate change, we think about something really huge. And then the solution can be as simple as using a cup while brushing your teeth in the morning. Instead of just, turning on, like just letting the water run from the sink, just use a cup, brush, and use the water from the cup to rinse your mouth. Simple. Those simple actions can actually lead to something huge in the future. So that's what I want to say as part of what we do. Additionally, to also comment on Ms. Cho's remarks on how animals, now due to global warming, are actually migrating from warmer places to cooler places. The trend is real and it's very serious. Some of you might have already heard of the word climate refugee. And it's just starting. Ms. Cho also mentioned, I'll be on the academic side. I'm also an academician, so that's why I like the academics and the facts. She talked about coronavirus. Maybe the cause could also be that this virus didn't really exist. But because of climate change, the bats who used to live in warmer places now started to come out because it's too hot. And that's why we have this thing, and we have more and more diseases in the future. So what I would like to say, for me, to be honest, at first, when I think about environmental protection, to be honest, I'm like, nah, it's not for me. It's not real. And it's for those people far away. But today, in the presentation, something hit me. South Korea is sinking. Wow. I cannot even swim. So I'm in South Korea. Now, so if South Korea sinks, what does that mean for all of us? We will all have to be refugees. And this news, I've heard that from Japan, in fact, that Japan is sinking. As a Korean, well, it's Japan. It's a bit far. But now, the land we stand on, according to the news article, is also sinking due to global warming. So this is a real situation that calls for action, and it affects everybody. Okay? So thank you so much. That's what I would like to say. And this is a panel discussion, and I remember our keynote speaker had a few questions she would like to ask. So I'd like to give her the mic to ask the questions, and then I will give you a chance, you, the participants, to also ask your questions. All right? So our keynote speaker first.
Okay. All right. So I have some magazines to give out. It's a super helpful magazine for those that want to get started on making change. So the first question is, what is the triple planetary crisis? Who would like to answer?
Could you please repeat one more time? What is the truth?
The triple planetary crisis.
Yes. Yes.
What is the triple, or what are the triple planetary crises?
You know, we talked about, she
There
talked
are
about
three.
triple planetary crisis.
Yeah,
There are three of them, the
there are
crisis.
three number.
Who remembers? Triple planetary crisis.
Climate change and pollution, biodiversity issues.
Awesome. Can we put our hands together for him? Okay. So this is for you. All right. The next question is, fill in the blank. No one is too dash to dash. No one is too dash to dash. Fill in the blank.
Okay, on this side.
No one is too smart to make a difference.
Awesome, awesome. Hands together for her. There you go. Awesome. Okay, the next question is, what are the three ways you can take action? Based on what was showed today, what are the three ways you can take action? What are the three ways you can take action? Who is ready?
Yes. What are the three ways you can take action?
Okay. All right. That's a big question, so you get 2 prizes for answering.
Yes. Make a choice to take action.
Yes.
Leverage collaboration.
Yes.
And learn more about the issue.
Awesome. Put your hands together for him. There you go. Awesome. So 2 more questions, and we call it a wrap. How old was Greta Thunberg when she started her change-making journey? Yeah.
She was 15.
Awesome, awesome. Put your hands together for her. So no one is too small to make a difference. And the final question, or I think you can have last 2. How old was Melati and Isabel when they began their journey?
From Indonesia.
From Indonesia. The 2 sisters. Who like to? Okay. Do you want to give it a try? You can give it. Yes? Okay, she got 1, so 10 and 12. Put your hands together for her. And finally, little actions, fill in the blank. Little actions dash to dash. Fill in the blank, yeah? No. Who would like to try? Okay, let me just give her. Little actions count. Put your hands together for her. Woo. Awesome. Put your hands together, everyone.
Thank you so much for that brief question of just Q&As.
Yeah.
So, as I said, we introduced ourselves, and then we made our comments. But this panel discussion is not only about us, it's also about you, the participants, because you are also the youth of Korea and Africa. So talking about the environment, what question do you have that you'd like to address to the panelists? And these questions you have, you can be addressed to anybody here. So just ask your question, and the 4 of us can feel free to answer and jump in at any point. All right, so now if you have any question, please remember to raise your hand. Yes?
what do you think about Korea's social ventures? Social ventures in Korea?
Very good question. So the question is, what do we think about Korean social ventures? And I guess in relation to environment. Wow, who would like to take this? Should I go first? Okay, so I'll go first. Personally, about 2 years ago, I ran a social startup with two of my Korean friends, and we got financial support from the Korean government. And it was themed as a social venture because we had a social impact, but then we're a team, we need to make money also to run the venture in the first place. So I would say Korean government these days is investing heavily in social ventures. And then the good thing even for the foreigners or the Africans here, these social ventures are not only for Koreans, but also applicable for Africans. As I told you, I was part of the team that actually ran this. So my social venture was more in terms of education for all. So I focused on Korean education and also literally from all over the world. And my job, I was in charge of the international curriculum. So I made basically this exchange possible to literally all the 5 continents in the world. I was in Africa, I was in East Africa, West Africa for this particular social venture. So to simply ask and answer the question, yes, Korea is investing heavily in that, and there are many ways you can actually start your social venture and get support for it. Thank you so much. Yes, is there any more question? Okay, we don't have much time, so if there are no questions, I'm going, oh, there's one, okay, I'm taking the last question, and then we need to wrap up, yes.
Thank you very much. I have 2 small questions. The first question is to our guest speaker today. Thank you for such a wonderful presentation, but I wanted to know, like in Africa especially, the transition from education to work is being prolonged or unpredictable, and yet there are some unexploited potential in the green economy and green transformation, along with the lack of skills in several areas such as waste sorting, eco-mobility, water management. What are some of the challenges that you've met along the way in convincing youth, especially the marginalized one, in participating in the green transformation? Let me say the second question then.
Okay.
Okay, the second question is addressed to the environmentalists, those who are participating in the environmental change in Korea, especially the 3-1. As people who have been operating in green transformation here in Busan and Korea and the world, what are some of the creative policies to raise awareness of green transformation among the Korean youth and then some of the African youth residing here in Korea? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And then let me quickly summarize the 2 questions. So he asked 2 questions, one directed to our keynote speaker about some of the challenges that she might have experienced while doing the whole green transformation in Africa. And then the second question, if I got it right, was addressed to the 3 of us about basically what are some of the policies that creative policies that are actually in place to help Koreans and Africans. Oh, yes. What are some of the creative policies that are in place to raise awareness, environmental awareness in Korea? Yes. So I'll start with our keynote speaker.
Okay, so thank you so much. That's a very brilliant question. I think that's one thing I missed out of my presentation. When I started when I was 16, and even till now, I still face a lot of challenges, especially in regards to getting people interested about the environment. To be very honest, there are so many issues in Nigeria, in Africa, that makes people just, that's the last thing they'll think about the environment, right? But one thing I've come to understand is when you actually create awareness and they get to see what is actually happening inborn motivation to want to do something about it. And most times to capture their attention at the beginning can be very hard. So we leverage things like incentives, like maybe giving out freebies, t-shirts and other things, snacks and all of that to have them come to our events, right? And then leveraging their attention. We also use very creative challenges and competitions as well, like the Literature Challenge, to get them involved, right? And then when they get involved, for instance, people like Kudira, the girl I showed on the screen, she got to see how the impact by cleaning up, she saw the amount of waste being generated, amount of waste being recovered, and she felt inspired to do something. We also have things like a movie screening. That's like one of my most favorite, it's one of my most favorite projects that we do at Recycle. Because after the movie screening, you get to see people so inspired and like, okay, what's the next step? Like, this is really serious. What can I do about it? So I feel that most times you can look for creative ways. It can even be through music and artworks and fashion, right, to get people interested first, right, very creative means, and then leveraging that creativity or their attention that have already been captured, we can then delve deeper into the main issue. Also, apart from interest, another issue I faced was funding. So I was very young, and nobody would want to trust a 60-year-old with so much funds, and also getting funds as an African is actually very hard. Right? But I understood how it's so important to start small but have big dreams. So I started small with what I had. In the beginning of my change-making journey, my mom was the one that was giving me, she was supporting me, my family, my friends. They could donate as little as $1, right? And we have like a good number of them donate $10, $1, that's in Naira, about 1,000 Naira to 10,000 Naira. And all of that little funding, we used it to have some of our very first projects, right? So all of that helped me to build my proof of concept, like my story, that if I can do this with little resources, if I have access to more resources, I can do more, right? So last year, we won almost $10,000 from National Geographic Society to be able to embark on a project that we had, the AY4A Fellowship. And this year, we actually won over £50,000 from the government of Canada for another project to implement it in universities. And it all started with just a $100 grant, right? I'm so grateful that actually, all of that, if I had said it's too small at the beginning, I wouldn't have slowly, it doesn't come all at once. It takes a lot of hard work. Like, it's so hard, but we have to understand that it is so important that we show up, we continue to do what we're doing, despite the various challenges. So those are two of the major challenges I face. And then my age, right? But I've been able to, like, work with mentors, based on their knowledge. Having a mentor ahead of you that has gone through your experience will give you like insights so you don't make mistakes, you don't make the wrong decision, and it can be like a kind of covering for you in case you have any challenges. So mentorship is very helpful. Starting small but having big dreams and telling your story is so powerful. Telling your story. And the last one is looking for a creative way to get people interested, and when they're interested, leverage on that interest and attention to help to make them continue to do more for the environment. Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much. And then because of time, okay, please, we can clap for her. That was a good answer. Thank you so much. And then because of time, we'll be very brief to answer the second set of the question. I don't know if Ms. Cho or Ms. Song want to answer. If not, I think I have something to say about it. Okay? Yes, Ms. Cho?
네, 좋은 질문 주셔서 감사하고요. 짧게 하도록 하겠습니다. 일단 제가 생각하는 가장 창의적인 정책 중에서 이 환경 문제에 대해서 좀 이렇게 인식 증진을 할 수 있는 방법에는 교육이 우선인 것 같아요. 그래서 사실 요즘 뭐 환경 교육이 많이 이제 대세가 되고 있다고 하지만 요즘은 또 환경 교육이라고 하지 않고 환경 교육도 사실 옛날 표현이에요. 요즘은 생태 전환 교육이라고 합니다. 그래서 생태 전환 교육을 통해서 학생들이 먼저 자연을 사랑하는 방법에 대해 더 배웠으면 하는 마음입니다.
Wow, thank you so much, Ms. Song.
네, 저도 창의적인 정책하면 앞서 말씀해 주셨던 소셜벤처나 이에 대한 중소기업을 많이 지원해 준다는 것이었는데요. 저희가 아이디어를 낼 때 발견했던 것이 나이지리아 내에서 태양열 패널을 짓는 것에 끝나고 그거에 대한 운영에서 많은 문제점이 있다는 걸 발견했어요. 그래서 저희가 그럼 환경 동아리를 개설해가지고 한국 내에 있는 중소기업 중에 이런 태양광 패널을 재활용해서 더 나은 자원으로 만들어내는 단체가 있더라고요. 그래서 그런 걸 저희가 매칭해서 알려주고 더 나아가서 저희가 한국에 많이 운영되고 있는 지원 사업들 지원을 해가지고 아프리카 청년과 한국 청년이 같이 합작해서 환경 문제 해결하면 어떨까 해가지고 저희가 그때 그런 아이디어를 냈었습니다.
Yes, thank you so much. And then, last but not least, to add on that, I hope those are clear. They talk about education and also the social venture. I totally agree with them. That is basically what we can do at our level. But also at the national level, if you're interested in that also, you can look at what the government is doing. Look at the use of electric buses. Look at the use of the hydrogen, yes, hydrogen buses that are available. The green energy transformation the Korean government is doing at a national level. So I will say so much is being done, and the opportunities are there through social ventures, as she mentioned. So all of us here who are participating in this event, if you have any creative idea, or you have a solution for any environmental issue, please feel free, make your team, and then have your social venture. And I'm definitely certain from my experience that the government can actually even support you. Because as our keynote speaker mentioned, one of the greatest challenges is actually support, to start, or funding to even start. So, but remember, in the end, no action is too small. Before you get the support, go out there and start doing something. So with those few remarks, I would like to say thank you so much for this first session of the morning session. We're actually coming to a close of our morning session. And yes, to our panelists, thank you for coming. And in the afternoon, I'd like to briefly mention, we'll have more Korea Youth Exchange activities in the afternoon. So, and last but not least, I would like to also mention, we'll have a participation survey, so feel free to, there will be a QR code that you can scan, access the survey form. Just give us your feedback so that we can see how in the future we can improve these type of forums. So having said that, we have prepared lunch, and from my yesterday experience, the food is super delicious. I'm sure you won't be disappointed. And the lunch will be provided right here at the venue. So once again, we'll appreciate if you enjoy your meal. And my name is Hassan Dankarami, and I'm your host for this morning session. Thank you so much, and enjoy your lunch. Thank you.